Hi, how you doing, and welcome back to another video on the channel. What we have for you today is our transfer video going into game week 16. We're going to take a look at the three most transferred in FPL players this game week and the three most transferred out players this game week, and we're going to talk about what we would do if we wanted them or if we owned them, whether we're going to buy them or sell them on a free transfer or on a wild card. So if this video does help you out and you are new to the channel, please do subscribe, like the video. Thank you to all the new subscribers over recent game weeks, and thanks to those who have been subscribed even longer. It really does help out a small channel. We're trying to grow, so if you can help us continue to do that, it would be really appreciated. Let's take a look at player number one. So the first player on this list and the most transferred in player this game week so far is William Saliba from Arsenal, and I get it. You know, he scored 2 goals in his last 2 games. That's quite enticing. Arsenal, there's a lot of chatter about how good they are from set pieces, but until a couple of game weeks ago, everyone was saying how little goal threat Saliba had, and one of those 2 goals did go in off his backside. And whilst you've got to be in the right position to score it, it's not the most foolproof scoring method in the Premier League. So I think you've just got to tailor your expectations on what you want from Saliba. If you want a defender from a solid defence who's the most likely to get you clean sheets over the Christmas schedule, get him in. If you're looking for a defender who's going to score every game week, you've kind of missed the boat with that. That's not going to continue. And, you know, you're better off maybe going for a Timber over this time schedule and looking for a cheaper Arsenal defender, or maybe even upgrading to a Trent if you can afford it. Someone who has a bit more sort of consistent attacking threat in games whilst also having those clean sheets. So if I was buying him, I think it's still a good price. It's still a good option as a defender, but I wouldn't be buying him expecting him to get a big 15-point return every game week. So the next player on this list is Alexander Isak, and he's someone who I do have in my own team. So yeah, I think he's a good buy. I think, again, a lot of people are getting him in for the recent fixtures coming up. Leicester and Ipswich look fantastic, but he's never going to be a captaincy option. I think there's always going to be a better player than him in terms of who you're going to captain each game week. He's the sort of player who will score you a goal every week or get an assist every week and keep you ticking along. So it's whether you think he's worth it for the price. Well, Newcastle's fixtures coming up even after the Ipswich game do look great. Villa, Man United and Spurs, they're not bad from an attacking point of view. And we've talked all season about how Newcastle don't have European football to contend with, so he is going to be more rested than everyone else, which probably makes him less of a rotation risk than players who are playing midweek. People are talking about, oh, what if Callum Wilson comes back? And yeah, he could get benched in any given game week, especially over Christmas, or he could get taken off early. But he is quite fundamental to how they play, and he is probably their best attacking player. So you would think he'd play more often than not because Newcastle are in the best form. They want to keep their better players on the pitch. And really over Christmas, any player in the Premier League is at risk of rotation or coming off early, regardless of who you are. You know, you could look at that Ipswich game and say, well, if they're 3-0, if Newcastle are 3-0 up at half time, Isak could be coming off then. You know, that's a good opportunity to rest him. And that goes for the same from someone like, you know, even a Cole Palmer with their easy fixtures coming up. He could come off at 60 minutes. You know, it's a risk that any player has. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about rotation risk with Isak moving forward. I think if you've got the money to spend, and maybe you're selling someone like Haaland or Watkins, I think he's a fantastic player to get. I would just, again, bear in mind that he's not someone that you would be captaining every week, and that's whether you want to invest that money into him, but he is a good buy. So the third player on our list is Enzo Fernandez, and he is actually the third most transferred in player this game week. And it's a little surprising, but I do also get it. He's got 3 goals and 3 assists this season, but they've all come in the last 5 game weeks. So is he a player on form, or is it just a small sample size? I guess that remains to be seen, but if he was going to continue, you know, getting attacking returns, you'd like him to have the fixtures he's got. You know, Brentford at home, Everton away, Fulham at home, Ipswich away. They're great fixtures, so he's a really low-risk transfer. But is he a bit of a luxury transfer? I think if you're swapping round a cheap midfielder, do you not have anything else to work on in your fantasy league team? It must be a nice position to be in. So I think he's a fantastic player to get in. He's playing further forward in Chelsea's system, hence the more attacking returns recently. I am curious as to whether he can keep it going. But even if he can't, at 5 million, it's not like you're investing a load of money into him. Kind of depends in where he fits in your team. So if you're swapping out your cheapest midfielder for him, I think he's a brilliant transfer. If you're swapping your third or fourth midfielder to him, I like it less, because I don't think you should be having a fifth option behind him. I wouldn't want Enzo at 5 million and then another 4.5 million midfield afterwards, because midfield is your most profitable position in FPL. They get an extra point for a clean sheet, they get an extra point compared to strikers for a goal. And I just think he is someone that can slot into your team quite nicely. But because he's still a risky pick in terms of point scoring for the long term, I don't think he's someone who I would want to rely on alongside another cheap midfielder. Even someone like a Rodgers. I think if you're swapping a Rodgers to an Enzo, that's great, but I'm not sure I'd want a Rodgers and an Enzo to rely on every week. So the first player in our most sold list is Ollie Watkins, and I do get it because I've taken him out of my team this game week, and I've brought in Nicholas Jackson. I think if you're swapping to someone else that's quite, that's got more consistent fixtures, Watkins, it was really frustrating that he got benched against Southampton. He was my captain that game week, and I think because you can take him out and get in any other striker other than Haaland, he's a really easy sell, because you're selling to a striker that you think is going to score you points, and you're getting more money in that you could use to maybe reinvest in your defence if people are looking to get in Saliba. You can also sell him straight to Isak, which looks like a great option in terms of a sell and a buy this game week. So yeah, I would sell him if I owned him, but I wouldn't rush him out. I wouldn't force him out. I definitely wouldn't take a points hit to sell him, because that Nottingham Forest game isn't the worst in the world. And then, Man City at home, how difficult is that at the moment? Man City, they've only won, I think, 1 in the last 10 games, and they've lost 7 out of the last 10. So they're obviously conceding goals. So being a striker against Man City, it's not the worst time in the world to play them. And then the Newcastle away game is tough, but then they've got Brighton and Leicester both at home. So Watkins has had his rest, so you'd like to think that he's probably going to start from now on. And he is someone who has been really consistent over the course of multiple seasons for Villa now. But Villa aren't really firing on all cylinders, and I do think that they're looking a little bit tired. So I completely understand why people are selling him, but maybe just leave a little bit in the bank in case you want to get him back in for the Brighton, Leicester, Everton games. So the next player on this list is Erling Haaland, and he's probably been in this video for every game week this season, because at the start of the season he was on the most transferred in list, and then he's always seems to have been in the most transferred out list for the most recent game weeks. And yeah, I do understand why people are selling him. I sold him a few game weeks ago. I think if you're still owning him though, you've obviously kept him this long for a reason, and the fixtures are turning. And we always say, it's really difficult to sort of click your fingers and turn into good form all of a sudden. Players can't do that, teams can't do that, otherwise everyone would be playing well all the time. There are those intangibles like momentum that you just take even longer to sort of turn around, but good fixtures do create good form, and then good form makes bad fixtures easier. And it is interesting to sort of see as we get close to January who Man City do sign. So I think if you've held him for this long, maybe just keep hold of him. I think 42% owned by all FPL managers. It'd be interesting to see how many of those managers are actually active in FPL and how many sort of just got him in at the start of the season and have just left him in and kind of forgotten about FPL. So yeah, he's a sell. He is a sell. He's not worth the price. But if you've kept him for this long, I'd maybe just be tempted to hold on to him. And he's almost like a differential for those easy fixtures. And all it will take is a hat-trick against Everton or a couple of goals against Everton, and everyone will be talking about getting him in again, and you'll be ahead of the boat. So it's completely how you want to play FPL. If you've got more options you could do with the money, I think go for it. This is the time where you can spread the funds and just extend your bench a little bit so you can cover for those rotations, but it would be interesting to hold him for the next few game weeks. So the last player on this list is Danny Welbeck, and yeah, I think if I owned him I would sell him because he's been a bit injured recently. I'd just be wary of who I'm selling him to, because I can imagine a lot of people are looking at Danny Welbeck and they don't own João Pedro, and they're saying, right, I'll go get João Pedro in, straight swap for Danny Welbeck, don't need really any extra money. But João Pedro is also quite injury prone, and he's also, a Brighton striker with those same attacking options. You've got Evan Ferguson, you've got Rutte, you've got Danny Welbeck again. You know, you've probably got about 3 more players I've not even mentioned. And so I would just be aware of getting in someone like João Pedro, who is a rotation risk and could be a little bit injured. You know, over the Christmas schedule, is someone like João Pedro or Danny Welbeck going to play midweek, you know, weekend, midweek again? Probably not. Like, they're all going to come in for each other. So I think if you can afford someone a bit more solid, like a Chris Wood, go for it. But if not, I'd even be tempted to drop down to a 4.5 million striker and then invest the money elsewhere and have that 4.5 million striker as your third bench option as someone who's not going to play. And as long as you've got good bench options in the 1 and 2 slots, I think you'll be absolutely fine. So dropping him down to a 4.5 million striker, if that means you can upgrade to an Arsenal defender or a Trent over Christmas, I think that's quite a good combination of 2 players rather than a cheaper defender and a Danny Welbeck or a João Pedro. But that's probably just my opinion. You go with what you want. So thank you very much for listening. Hopefully it's helped you out. If you've got any transfer questions or thoughts, just put them in the comments. It's great to chat FPL. If you are new to the channel, please do subscribe. Go check out the wildcard video and the preview video that we've done for this game week. Link should be on the screen right about now. Hopefully you've had a good game week. Good luck in this next game week, and I will see you in the next one.